Hello, hello. Hope you are having a fantastic day. Welcome to the kickoff of a new series here on LinkedIn Live. We got a new series for this week. Happy Monday for all of you who are joining us live. And thank you for watching to all of those who are watching on recording. So wait, let me make sure my mic is working. I think it is. Awesome. But hey, great to see everybody. Hope that you are weathering the stay-at-home, shelter-in-place, voluntary social distancing, physical isolation times that we're in the Illinois area and Chicago, where I am. We're going into week 5, so it's definitely been an experience. But I've really enjoyed putting these LinkedIn Live sessions together for everybody. Hope that you have enjoyed them. Some of you I know are joining for the first time. And some of you are regulars. Thank you for coming back. It's also helping keep me a little sane as well. And as we're going through this, if you have comments, you have questions, feel free to jot them up in the comment section. Feel free to hit those thumbs ups and those applauses just because it lets me feel like I'm not speaking to the void, which is always good when you're sitting in your home office all alone. But I'm really excited about the topic that I've chosen for this week, and it's a little different than I think a lot of sales coaches and entrepreneurial speakers would talk about. But I think that when we sell, the context that we sell in is really important, and not only the broader context, meaning the world that we're living in right now, which is definitely interesting, but also the mental context, because really the perspective that we bring to our work, the perspective that we bring to sales conversations, to prospecting, to our business and to our life actually is just as, if not more important than the external environment. And so what I want to share this week is a mental perspective, a way of creating context I found very useful for me over really about the last 15 years. And it's been pretty valuable. And so what we're going to talk about is how to use Zen Buddhism, and ideas from Zen Buddhism in your daily life. We'll probably look at some other Eastern philosophies as well, things like Taoism and stuff like that. But I've actually been a student of these philosophies, I guess you'd call them. I said for over 15 years. I was introduced to meditation by a coach that I had when I was a young entrepreneur. And I was struggling with some stuff, and she suggested meditation. This was before meditation was cool, and everybody was on Headspace. But I tried it, really found some value in it, and something that I've continued on to study and to have a meditation practice, but really dove into some of the other things like Zen philosophies and writings, Taoism, stuff from around the world. And so I want to share with you some of the highlights, things that I've picked up over the years that have really been incredibly valuable and that I think can help you right now. And by the way, to get us kicked off for this whole week, a couple stereotypes and questions I want to address right away. Obviously, I am not a Zen master. I'm not a Zen priest or anything like that. I'm just a student. I'm just a practitioner. I'm figuring this out right along the way as with everybody else. And one thing I should point out too is that, we're approaching this from a philosophical and a psychological perspective. And that is a really big part of what Zen is. When you get past all the stereotypes, that's what actually a lot of Eastern philosophy is. In fact, many would argue that Buddhism itself is not so much a religion as much as it is a philosophy. And whatever approach you want to take is fine. I'm not going to try to convince you about any sort of spirituality, or you don't have to believe anything. It's simply, again, some of the perspectives that we can take to be more effective. And also, one thing I should point out, we're going to look at 2,500 years of philosophical development in the course of a couple of 20-minute videos. To say this is not comprehensive is an understatement. But also, I mentioned this before, let's get past some stereotypes. This is not about Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid or Kung Fu with the Shaolin monks. This is really just trying to get to the heart of what these philosophies are looking at, because as the author Brad Warner, who's one of my favorite American Zen writers, says, the whole point of Zen is just to try to make life suck a little less. And it's in the same way, I want to help you maybe not make life suck a little less, but again, make your your day-to-day work a little more productive, a little easier, a little less stressful, maybe a little more calm and peaceful as well. And so that's what we're going to do over the course of this week. And I'm going to every day look at one little topic, give you a couple ideas from it. That's all we're going to be able to do in the 15 or 20 minutes that we have for this time. So just a little taste. And today, I'm really excited because what I want to talk about is the way. All right. And in fact, if you're familiar with Taoism, or if you ever see Tao, T-A-O or D-A-O, it's the same thing. It's just different spellings. What that really means, or where that really comes into this Zen picture is very brief, I promise, historical perspective. So Buddhism starts in India about 500 or 600 years BCE, and starts to migrate, especially throughout Asia. Interestingly enough, there's not a lot of Buddhists in India anymore. It really kind of migrated through to China, Southeast Asia, Japan, etc. And in kind of like the first century CE, that's where it starts to go into like China, and kind of runs into Taoism, which was a firmly established homegrown philosophy in China. And it was very much about flow and about being in accordance with nature, and not in a nature kind of tree huggerish kind of way, but really just like, hey, looking at the whole system and looking at, instead of trying to fight the system that is nature, exist within it. And that's really where you get this idea of the way, or Taoism. Taoism means the way. And what's interesting is since then, like even in modern psychology, there's things like flow, which is a good buzzword. But there's great works of psychology that are really diving into that from a Western point of view. But so what happened is Buddhism hits Taoism and kind of starts to become morphed and evolves, and it becomes, or at least one strand becomes what's called Chan, or I think I'm pronouncing that right, Chan Buddhism, which is again the progenitor of Zen a couple centuries later. And so it's really this idea of taking the Buddhist interconnectedness with the idea of flow. And so as we keep going through the millennia with Zen Buddhism, or what we now conceive as Zen Buddhism, we really see this idea of action and following the way. In fact, one of the Buddhist precepts is the idea of right action, or it's actually one of the Eightfold Path. You should have right action. And why I think this is so important to think of right now is that we're at this place, and I've heard this over and over again in the last month, where people are going, I can't wait till we get to the new normal, right? Or get back to normal. Or I can't wait till this ends, and then we can, go back to the way, to the way we were normally doing business. I can't wait till we get to sell like we did before this. I can't wait till life gets back to normal and we're not stuck in our houses. And that's a really understandable perspective. But the reason why I want to start with this concept of the way is that you don't want to divorce yourself from where you're at right now. And if you think about all of those statements or desires or wishes, it's basically saying where I'm at right now is not normal, is not good. This is a strange situation. And I would prefer to get back to a different situation. Now, I would be the first person to argue that this is definitely not a normal situation that we're in. But I also think that you don't have to fight it. You can say that this is actually part of the process. And that's so important, again, not only now, but just in general. And I've seen this a lot, especially working with salespeople and entrepreneurs and business people. There's always this feeling that where I'm at right now isn't good or isn't right. It isn't in flow. But when I get to another point, when a certain thing happens, then everything will be good. Meaning, as long as I just get those, as long as I call these customers, and then I'll get the appointments, and then I'll get the sales, and then I'll make the money, and then I'll buy the nice car, the big house, or just have a big trophy about my sales wins, then I'll be happy. Well, that's a whole lot of steps. And it can be very challenging. And I would argue that it's almost easier just to say, this is the path that I'm on. This is the path that will take me to all of those things, right? This is not about saying there's no such thing as cause and effect, but it's really looking at the unity of the experience. I was watching, and this is a very strange place to get inspiration, but this is a couple of years ago. I was watching, I forget the name of the show, but it was like America's Best Comic, or Last Comic Standing. That's what it was called. Last Comic Standing, which was this comedian, reality, head competition. And I don't know if this gentleman won, but he came pretty close. And they were interviewing him about like what his career was like. And stand-up comedy is a tough career. If you want to talk about challenging sales gigs, that's definitely one of them. And he just said this thing, and it stuck with me. He goes, there is not one way to success. Success is the way. And so I would even throw that out to you. There's not one way for you to be successful in your career. The path, the path of success is being right here in the moment. You don't have to wait till you're somewhere else to then be successful. And I know that sounds like a little woo-woo, but if you really think about what that means, it allows you to go, hey, me sitting at home on a Monday morning in the middle of a global pandemic, trying to figure out how to build my business, trying to figure out how to save some of my clients, trying to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do right now is not actually a bad thing. It's just part of the path. It's part of the story. It's really interesting. We like reading biographies. We like watching based on a true story movies. We like looking back at the biographies people have, the stories. But then we often forget that when the people were in that story, they didn't necessarily see it as a story, right? They're like stressed and they're in pain and, they had ups and downs and all those things. But if you look back at it, you're like, oh, that's the complete story. That's the narrative of what you were accomplishing. When you follow the way, when you're on a path, it's just about going like, wow, this might suck, right? It might be tough. You might have had your top client call you and cancel. You might have had a business opportunity fall through the cracks. You might be going, wow, can I even reach out and try to find business while all this is going on? But that's okay. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to say that's not, I'm not doing it right. You're like, no, you're engaging it. You're doing it as you should. And that's what following the Tao is really about, and following the way. It's really about embracing where you're at instead of fighting it. And when you think on a practical level, what this does is it allows us to remove a lot of the judgment, right? Nobody else is placing on us, that we place on ourselves, or the feelings of failure and the feelings of stress that we put on ourselves. Doesn't make things easier necessarily, but it does allow us some more space, right? It allows us the ability to move forward with less effort. And that, I think, is incredibly valuable because I talk to many people who are, and it's kind of one of the things I really enjoy about being a coach and, training people and helping people be successful. Even if I'm standing on a stage talking to audiences, I love kind of getting feedback from people and kind of getting a ringside view to the mental challenges that people have. I run a coaching group for small business owners, and in our last call, all we talked about was winning the mental game, because so much about what we do to be successful in these roles is inside, it's internal. And if you can take away some of that judgment, some of that effort that you're putting in, right? Like literally some of the cycles that you're spinning through your mind, thinking about, versus moving forward. When you can remove those, it opens the space to take different actions. And I think that's really valuable. There's a great quote, or what I think is a great quote from, and I don't even know what teacher said this, but it's definitely from a Zen teacher who was talking about enlightenment. And it basically goes something like this, and I'm paraphrasing. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And chopping wood, carrying water, obviously a fill-in for the daily actions that we need to take. And I think that whether or not enlightenment is a goal that you have, what enlightenment in this context can mean is just, again, taking away that judgment and understanding how you're going to move through the world. You still do the same stuff, right? I'm not walking the path, being a follower of the Tao does not mean that all of a sudden you're not going to have to make phone calls, right? That you don't have to respond to emails, that you're not going to have to do a sales presentation. You're not just going to sit there, no matter what any digital marketer or as my friend Michelle Mazur calls them, the bro marketers want to promise you. You're not going to just sit there at your desk or on the beach and people are going to just give you a ton of cash. Doesn't really happen that way. You still have to put forth energy, but you can do it in a more meaningful way. And what I can attest to you after doing this for a long time, like it's not something you're going to figure out tomorrow because it's not necessarily easy to do. But if you put some effort on or some focus on this over time, some really good things happen and you get a little less stressed out and you get better results. So that's what I wanted to share with you. There's this idea of following the path and just accepting that wherever you are is a part of the story that you're telling about your life and about your career and the success you're having. And that's okay. So that's the first of the 5 tips or 5 ideas, I guess. I don't know if that's a tip, but the 5 ideas I wanted to share with you. Again, went through this very quickly, very briefly. But in the midst of all the challenges that are going on, just to instead of separating ourselves, be aware of the fact that we are right here in this place is super valuable. In the following sessions, we're going to talk about some other fun stuff like non-attachment, interconnectedness, mindfulness. One of my favorites, Wu Wei. So I'm probably mispronouncing that Chinese word completely, but it's such a super important concept that also came from the Taoism into the Zen. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, I'm more than happy to at least share my perspective on it. Again, I'm not saying like I'm a master at this, but it's stuff that I've been using for myself and actually with a lot of clients, and it's been pretty effective. And I hope that you have a great start to your week. I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to reach out. Also, I do have a lot of articles, some even on Zen, but also everything from selling to networking to LinkedIn to professional development. You can just check it out on my blog. I think I got the link up at davidjpfisher.com/blog. Kind of right on the nose there, not being too tricky. And also, if you are a small business owner or a solopreneur or freelancer who wants to get better at selling, I mentioned that selling Launchpad coaching group that I have. We have a call on I think the 23rd, I think it is, but that is open to, we're opening up for free. If you'd like to get some support, get connected with a great group of other professionals, feel free to send me a message as well after this. And I said, I'm going to be doing these all week. So one thing I would ask is if you did find this valuable, if you know people who would find this valuable, please let people know about these calls. They're at 11:30 Central all week. I appreciate you sharing with your network. Whether it's posting to your LinkedIn newsfeed or even just sending this message out to anybody you know who would get value from these perspectives. And finally, the last thing I'll say is, hey, these are odd times, they're trying times, but do the best you can. Stay inside if you don't have to go out, don't go out. But if you do go out, be sure to say thank you to the delivery driver, the cashier at the grocery store, the person stocking at the grocery store, the cashier at Walgreens, the bus driver, just the people that are making things run that don't have the luxury like we do of sitting at our office desk just watching this video. Say thank you to those people, and of course, say thank you to our frontline defenders, the nurses, the doctors, all the healthcare professionals. We will get through this. But it is a challenging time. So make sure you say thank you to them. And, as I've been wrapping up all these, couple quick reminders, be patient. Week 5, things are getting a little squirrely for a lot of people. I've seen my wife a lot over the last month or so. It's great. I love her, but still, it's a lot. And you might be in that situation too. So just be patient with people, be kind, and take care of one another. So thanks a lot, everybody. See you next time.